What's up guys, CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new HNN. It is good to be back after a long week away, and we do actually have a ton of news to talk about, kind of getting me right back into the grind. But before we dive in, let me give a huge shout out to Nick for filling in for a couple of days while I was away. So let's get down to the news. In our top story, some massive Suicide Squad details revealed in new set reports, plus some details on who Scott Eastwood could be playing in the movie, and finally we'll wrap up the day with Marvel announcing a new Jessica Jones series. But first we've got to start with Suicide Squad, as that movie is now just weeks away, and just today a bunch of outlets got the go-ahead from the studio to publish various details and reports from the film set. And we're really just going to run through some of the real highlights here, just some of the big things. So for the full details, check the link in the description down below for a really kind of cool look behind the scenes of the film. Probably the biggest reveal in Collider's report in particular is that the Enchantress, who a lot of people thought and probably still think is going to be the villain of the film, will be strongly connected to the squad via a romantic relationship with Colonel Rick Flag. And there's no details right now if that was a relationship back when she was just June Moon the archaeologist, before she was possessed by the witch, or if it's kind of something that's still ongoing while she's fighting off that possession. Another really cool part of the report gave us a look at where Jared Leto's Joker fits into this DCEU, as just like Ben Affleck's Batman, he's been around the block a time or two. In this universe, he's a major crime kingpin, really the top of the DCEU's criminal underworld, and at one point we even see a club that he owns featuring go-go dancers wearing Batman masks. They also confirmed that we will see Arkham in this movie, as that's where Joker and Harley are locked up to start the film. Amongst the other details, confirmed that Deadshot is kind of the leader of the team, and David Ayer even described it as kind of Deadshot's movie. Katana has her sword, her Soul Taker sword, and it does actually contain the soul of her dead husband, and yes, she does talk to it. But really the character details that interested me the most were about Adewale's take on Killer Croc. The actor apparently did some incredibly in-depth research for his role, studying crocodiles and the way they move in the water and incorporating that into the way he acts, fights, and even walks in the film. However, despite the really awesome things this set report details and kind of the cool things that we hear about these characters and the way they mesh with the movie's fun tone, there was a really kind of curious tidbit thrown in there as well. Reportedly, the film will feature Midway City, and in the comics that city is based on Chicago and is most famously the home of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. In this universe, though, it'll be set as the midway point between Gotham and Metropolis, according to Collider's info, and that's where the problem lies. Because if you remember, in the DCEU, Gotham and Metropolis aren't far away at all. In fact, they're close. They're really close, separated by a bay close. So unless Midway is on that island where they fought Doomsday and Batman v Superman and was built in the couple of months that separate the two movies, that's a pretty glaring continuity error. But it could also just be a case of something being misspoken during the visit or even misheard by the reporters, so we'll keep you updated as new information comes along. In our next story of the day, sticking with the major Suicide Squad info dump, we actually have some new details on who Scott Eastwood might be playing in the movie. The new information is simply that his character in the movie has been revealed. He is, drumroll please, Lieutenant GQ. And that's not a joke. That's actually what his character was listed as on some concept art spotted by the reporters on their set visit. It seems like GQ will just be a nickname. I mean, it's a pretty fitting nickname for Scott Eastwood, and he really could be anyone, although Collider reports that he's just a Navy SEAL working with Rick Flag and isn't a comics character. Although comicbook.com's interviews with two of the film's producers, Richard Suckle and Andy Horowitz, kind of paints a different picture. Suckle insists that Eastwood's character is an important part of the movie and backs up Collider's report that he will work closely with Colonel Flag. But then in the most interesting twist of all, Horowitz insisted that of all the guesses about the character he's seen on the internet, no one's gotten it yet. Now, that is true if he's just a lieutenant, but the fact that Horowitz made the comment at all kind of implies that there's a mystery that still hasn't been solved. So, comment question of the day: do you buy the official story that he's just a soldier in the film? If not, let me know who you think he's playing in the comment section down below. To round out our day, let's jump back to the page and over to Marvel Comics, who have just announced a new Jessica Jones series. The new series will reunite Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaius, the creative team behind Alias, the seminal Jessica Jones run that heavily influenced Netflix's critically acclaimed adaptation of the character. It also marks a kind of return for the character, who dropped off the map a little bit after last appearing in Spider-Man number 5 earlier this year, when she was kind of set up for a recurring role but never appeared again. Bendis promises that will be addressed and Jones' story will have taken an interesting turn, but let's look at his quote. You're going to find out about it in the first issue. We're going to open up a book book where Jessica's world is blown up in her face. She's at a place where you least expect her. You're going to find out all of her relationships have altered, and we're slowly going to find out why. And you know, for all the hate that Bendis gets around the comic book world, I know I'm not the biggest fans of his work, this is actually a really great idea in my opinion. To reunite that creative team 15 years later as Jessica Jones kind of returns to the public eye is a wonderful move on Marvel's part. And Bendis has got to be considered one of the hardest working people in the industry now, as with this, he'll be writing 8 books for Marvel in the fall. So of course, let me know your thoughts on all of that, but that'll actually bring us to the end of today's H&N. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider supporting us on Patreon for access to all sorts of exclusive goodies like audio commentaries, and we just did one on Batman v Superman's Ultimate Edition last week. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you tomorrow.